Good morning, day 31. What the heck? I'm coming to a park that has a dock that's near where I'm at in Florida. My grandmother would roll over in her grave if she heard me say where I'm at. Um, yeah, not proper English. Sorry, Grandma. Um, anyway, hey, there's a legacy. Proper English. Speak properly. Um, that was left to me. And looky here, look at these colors. Oh my goodness. Might have to make this quick so I can take pictures. That's what I'm gonna work on in February is taking a few pictures first before I start yapping. Um, and boy, it's beautiful. The sun is going to be over there, but what we're seeing here is sort of the effects, right? Um, Even if we're not going to see the sun directly. Whoa, beautiful. I may have to go. I wonder, golly. All right. I am going to hopefully keep it short. Oh, well, we will have colors like this again. I have to remind myself sometimes the view's just for me. It's meant for me. For whatever reason, I wasn't meant to capture it on camera, or if I do, it'll happen. If I am, it'll happen. But I want you to look at this. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Give you all a panoramic view. Wow, 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 wow. The water is like glass, so I'll sit down and have that behind me. Maybe I'll have a house here one day. Um, anyway, so my topic today, choose your hard. And it was really interesting how that was a phrase I have leaned on. Oh my gosh, I have used that. That has been an anchor for me. Choose your hard. It was like a light bulb moment I had 3, 4, 5, maybe even 5 years ago when I found myself in the pit of like not being happy with the choices I was making and the consequences, but yet changing and the process of it and doing things differently just seemed so hard. And then, like, it was like a light bulb. And I think this is a phrase that's just out there in the world. There's probably memes or whatever. Um, and I heard it and I understood it one day. And I was like, oh, I'm not avoiding doing anything hard. I'm just doing something hard that I've learned how to do I'm familiar with, but I'm not avoiding hard. I'm choosing my hard. It was hard to be overweight. It is still hard to be overweight. It's hard to have the consequences of various types of hangovers. And, when we hear the word hangover, we immediately think of alcohol. But man, we have hangovers of all types. Overeating leaves a hangover. Overindulging in anything leaves a hangover. Spending that leaves you with debt, that is a hangover. Um, not spending your nights wisely and being tired the next day and not sleeping, that's a hangover. Sugar, overindulging in sugar, and then having that crash that we talk about, that is a hangover. So, I don't, anyway, so moving on. So, anyway, well, no, not moving on. So we think we're avoiding hard by not having the sugar or not spending the money or not, enjoying that third glass of wine or whatever for you. You're just choosing, you're delaying. And oftentimes, not only delaying, but you're making it worse for yourself. If you dealt with it now and went through the hard and chose the hard of dealing with it, you would free yourself. You would free yourself. And even like the act of planning, that's another one for me, being organized and being planned. And, um, a calendar and a schedule is not supposed to be a tyrannical finger wagging, but it's supposed to actually give you freedom and flexibility. So your brain kind of, okay, this is what we expect for the day, for the week, for the month. And now I can free up my brain space. But if I'm always living in reactive mode by the seat of my pants, then I create lots of hangovers from that, of feeling rushed, of feeling like I never have enough time. I can't get it all done. Not enough hours in the day. Y'all picking up when I'm putting down here? Are ya? Um, Man, that's beautiful, isn't it? I'm glad I can see the reflection of it. And anyway, so what made me think of this morning? What made me think of this? Well, I finished the book of Deuteronomy this morning, and in my humanness, I'm reading the story of Moses, and Moses, he made a big mistake during his being the mouthpiece of God for the people. At one time, when he was getting the water out of the rock, he took credit for it. He said, "Look at what I'm gonna do." I'm paraphrasing, of course, and he didn't, you know, give the holy moment to God. And that's a big no-no. He said, "Look at me, look what I can do." He tried to be God in that moment. And that's a no-no. And God told him, like, look, dude, the consequence of this is that you are not going to get to the promised land. And I'm reading this whole time thinking in my humanness, I'm like, but God, like, that's just not fair. Like, you listen to him and his arguments about saving the Israelites when you wanted to smite them and wipe them off the face of the earth, and you listen to his, pleas. And now here he is. He made one mistake. Yeah, it was a big one, but look at all the good stuff he did for you. And now you're not going to let him go to the promised land? Like, he spent 40 years of his life, not even 40 years of his life, but his whole life. He was specially chosen even from a baby, we know, floating on the Nile. But there, but then that was the mistake I was making when looking at this story, looking at it from my point of view. The Bible is supposed to help us see his point of view and let us learn about him and his ways and his grand plan and even being part of it. And so I needed a little perspective shift. And that was the phrase I was reminded of. And we are reminded at the very end of Deuteronomy that, even though he brings them up to the mountaintop and says, look, I'm not going to let you go to the promised land, but here it is. I'm going to let you see it. But you're not going to go. Sorry. It's not, he's a man, he's not a man. He's a God of his word. And he means what he says, and he says what he means. And even with his greatest servant, Moses, of the time. But what caught me at the very end was when we're reminded by the words of the Bible that Moses was the only prophet to see God face to face, not once, but multiple times. He was the only one that was allowed to be in God's presence, like who he was. Other people would die and see God face to face. And so I can imagine maybe there was even a conversation, or maybe even Moses even internally said, maybe I really wish I could see the promised land, but that might mean that I have to give up. I have to choose not to have this special relationship with God anymore. And he probably said, I choose this. I choose this hard. Because even if going to the promised land looks amazing in my human self, but if it means that I lose this connection, this relationship that I've been blessed with God, then I choose to stay here and die this way on the mountaintop, just seeing the promised land and remaining face to face with my God. Because we also are then told that Joshua's going to take the mantle, But is not going to get to see God face to face. He is going to get a spirit of wisdom to help him lead the people. So it literally is like a transition from old guard to new guard, old way, new way. And God is not going to go face to face with anybody into the promised land. So I'm like, if I were faced with that choice, and we are faced with choices all the time, like if we drill down or use this as a metaphorical example, what are you making choices with that's hard? And what is worth doing that's hard, that's going to lead you to a life of freedom, a life with, for me, with God, and having a close relationship with him. Like, I don't want anything of the world, anything, even this view and or one of these fancy houses. I mean, my human heart wants those, but I would not trade them. I would not choose that if it meant that I couldn't be growing in my relationship with God or going where he says he wants my life to go and how he wants my life and my words and my actions and all of it to be used. So that is the hard that I'm choosing. I'm choosing to deal with hard things and the human choices that I'm making and the hangovers and the consequences. And I'm choosing to lean into God day by day. It's going to be hard. It is hard. But you don't avoid doing hard. You delay. You choose hard of another bucket. There is no escaping hard in this life, in the human life. It's hard. So what are you going to choose? Are you going to choose to do the hard work of living a life that you can look back on and say, yes, well done, my good and faithful servant, and do your best? And you may not achieve it, but there's something of value and worth in even striving and knowing that you lay your head down on the pillow at night and said, yes, I really did try. Or at least I tried for an hour today. And that was an hour more than I did yesterday. Like, we've got to meet ourselves where we are too and realize that it's progress over perfection. And we can't be perfect. We just can't. So this isn't a message of like finger wagging, like, because I'm in it too. I have to really every day take an inventory and say, what did I do good? And what did I do better? And what can I do better on tomorrow? And but I really, we need to celebrate our wins and celebrate what we're doing that is hard, because that keeps us motivated and moving in the right direction, and giving God the credit too, if that's part of your journey and your faith and how it's growing, or whatever words work for you. I'm just speaking from my heart and what works for me. And if that also is an alignment, then hey, I've done something right. And I can maybe do one more right thing the next day. And that turns life into an adventure of sunrises. And every day, God's mercies are new every day. All right, my friends, I'm going to take some really good pictures now. They're so beautiful. And I'm thanking God right now for keeping those colors behind me so I can take some pictures. So cool. All right, bye.